you're anti-trans.
So the first one I'm looking at is a Ty Rivera video. Oh, hey Reverse, how you doing? So this is a Ty Rivera video. So he called this, "Leave the kids alone. LGB is no better than TQ." I guess he's still drama farming. I don't know. I ended up not making videos out of the thing with him and Menno because it was feeling too much like bait. But yeah, I want to see what this is. If it's stupid, then it's fine because we got ages, like I said. Anyway, let's have a look.
There's no such thing as trans. But not convinced that it's the real thing.
Trans rights activist disrupted a gender critical event, right?
And this is why I'm not a part of any group, because they all turn out to be full of it. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best.
Listen, being kind of unaffiliated, I do kind of dig, if I'm honest. I'm kind of, I'm a bit loath to like connect with anyone because people seem kind of crazy on the internet, and it seems easier to do my thing and, you know, kind of make it on my own a little bit. Oh, hi Scooper, how you doing? But yeah, let's see.
Best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, so I had to do a follow-up story just to let you guys know where everything's at and why it is I said the thing I said about not ever trying to be a group at my advanced age and with what I've seen. So here's the deal. That group, the LGB Alliance, may not be better than the TQ. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you guys exactly why I say the LGB is just as bad as the TQ when we're talking about the LGB.
You can do it and still be inclusive. Like, geez, calling people guys, that's just offensive, quite frankly.
Be Alliance, because they put a post up on X today, just tonight, the artist formerly known as Twitter, that made me like, okay, I didn't think that's what we were doing. And I did tweet them about it, but I'd imagine that tweet is going to get crickets. All right. I'm a cheeseball. What do you guys want? Can I live, please? Anyway, we're going to get into that in just a second, but first I want to clear.
I think most people condemn me for having casual associations. It depends if they've got something to gain from it, or if they want to have a go at me but can't actually criticize the things I say. But I'm not sure. It's not even really like the idea that people will condemn me for being friends with this person or this person. It's more what the people I'm going to be friends with are going to be like, you know? And like, I don't know, acquaintances is fine. I'm just very wary. I've seen kind of how a lot of these things play out. Like, I've watched a lot of drama videos in my time, you know? People will fall out for any fucking reason whatsoever on the internet, and people have come after me for like literally any reason. But yeah, I don't know. You know, comes with experience, I guess, and I'm not really all that experienced, so.
Up that it was kids that they sent to do their dirty work as far as the trans activist groups went.
This person looks like a 12-year-old boy. Like, Jesus Christ. Some literal grooming must have been going on to get this kind of shit going. Like, how old is this person? I don't know if a name was given or anything, and I'm kind of loath to try and dox someone or something, but I don't know. There's a lot of arguing in the comments. But hey, I'm more interested in my own perspective than this.
It was a group called Trans Kids Deserve Better, and they're the ones that released the 6,000 crickets, which I'm going to take their word for it on 6,000 crickets, but it didn't look like no 6,000 crickets to me. And I know that's the Arizona coming out of me, the way I just phrased that, but it didn't look like no 6,000 crickets to me. So do what you want with that information. So here's the deal, right? I was very careful in the wording that I chose as far as what I clipped to make my thumbnail for that video.
Early 20s. I guess sometimes you get trans men that just literally look like little boys. I don't know.
Yesterday, because I saw a post that were saying the LGB Alliance was an anti-trans group. And my thinking is, just because you're not for something or you don't think a group is a good fit for what you're putting on does not
I'm really sorry if it's like freezing for people. It's doing it for me too. I hope it stops.
Mean you're anti that group. So I chose not to use anything that used that particular language because I didn't want to misrepresent what I thought the LGB alliance was. So Jack Jewell, who's a creator here on YouTube that I'm cool with, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm really feeling Jack Jewell when it comes to the whole movement situation, because the thing a person like me has going for them is I don't have to show loyalty to any particular group because I don't care if I get invited to their events. I'm not looking for a position in anybody's movement. With Jack Jewell, I think things may be a little bit different. I'm not trying to besmirch his name, and Jack Jewell knows how to hit me up if he wants to talk to me. I'll be open to hearing
Imagine what T would do to that. Yeah, Jesus Christ, I'd prefer not to.
him on it, but I saw him on Brad Palumbo's channel, which Brad Palumbo is somebody that I like here on YouTube. He's more in the style of an actual journalist, which I tell you guys, I'm not an actual journalist. I'm not pretending to be a journalist. I do as much research as I possibly can do, but what I bring to the table is life experience and heart. I've known a lot of people from the entire spectrum as far as LGBTQIA plus goes. I don't like everything
to us LGBTQPIA+.
I don't stand behind
Oh, Rose Montoya, alleged rapist or sexual assaulter.
goes. I don't like everything
to us LGBT
Yeah, that is Rose Montoya, isn't it? If it's not, then I'm really sorry for slandering you. But yeah, it looks like Rose Montoya.
QPIA+.
I don't stand behind everything. I
QPIA or QQI. Oh, fuck no.
definitely don't hang out with everything. But I will do as much research as I need to do on any particular subject to be able to talk about it in the video that I'm making or in the story that I want to tell. And so anyway, what I was trying to get at is Brad Palumbo was talking to Jack Jewell.
So Jack, how was this honestly crazy event? I saw it unfolding on social media, but how was it covered in the mainstream UK press?
And Jack Jewell was like,
Very lightly, it wasn't a big story, but I just think one thing that's interesting is even in our more right-wing press, and I don't think it was through any fault, I just think there's a certain narrative we're used to hearing with this sort of language, in that it was reported that trans rights activists disrupted a gender-critical event, right?
and then I watched Jack Jewell's video on it.
Hey everyone, it's Jack. Welcome back to my channel. I am here at the LGB Alliance conference. I'm going to
See if I can guess. A lot of talking about trans. One of them says it's not real. Are they actually anti-trans after all? Who fucking knows? Let's find out. I've seen Jack Jewell's video, by the way. I could see myself getting addicted to exogenous tea, but I don't because of the health and behavioral consequences. What about tea enemas, though? I think that sounds more your thing, right?
speak to some of the attendees here and see what they think. Let's go.
I watched the whole video by Jack Jewell, and I'm going to share a couple clips with you guys. And it is gender critical, and it is anti-trans, because if you're saying that somebody isn't a good...
There is a lot of talk about trans people, to be fair, but we don't know what all the other conversations were, admittedly.
Cool. And it is anti-trans, because if you're saying that somebody isn't a good fit for the group that you're...
You told me about that in confidence. Oh. Sorry, I'm terrible at keeping secrets. What can I say?
You're putting together. Like I said, I get that. But if you're saying that that group isn't even an actual thing, even when it comes to adults...
The accusations of conversion therapy, I think, are really levelled at us by people who, for some reason or other, want to uphold concept of transgenderism as if it's a real thing.
That's where I get like, just admit you're anti-trans and your group is anti-trans. Say it like you mean it. Say.
Is that what they're saying, though? Are they not kind of... Like, I don't know. Because the thing is, what the fuck is it based on? You know? And the other thing is, I don't know how hard people are going to be like overcorrecting, because they're probably used to not really talking about this kind of stuff as freely as where they're at this this conference. So I think that's something I need to bear in mind. We'll keep watching.
Say it like you feel it. Again, I'm not going to judge you for it, but at least be an accurate representation of what it is you're hanging out with or who it is.
Because I guess he's stating his beliefs accurately. If you don't really think trans is a thing, are you anti-trans? I mean, the logic would say yes, I guess. Put one in my lower front gums, dissolved it and pipetted it into Jesus Christ. Fair enough. Listen, I don't even know what to say to that. Fair enough.
As they are. That's all I'm saying. It's not fair to be like, oh, you're just imagining this. And then you're saying things like,
there's no such thing as trans.
it's just like, you don't have to lie to kick it, bro. Because when you're hanging out with people and at that convention, there are people that are saying,
We're not convinced that it's the real thing. You know, we don't.
Well, I mean, isn't there going to be all sorts? I don't know. Maybe I'm playing devil's advocate a fair amount for this video. But I mean, I've seen it. Like, there's a fair amount of trans talk because obviously there's going to be, there's definitely people that talk about other things. We don't know what we're not seeing, etc., etc. Just follow the instructions. I'm good. I don't know what tea would do to me as someone who's had a vaginoplasty. I think it might not be a good idea.
Hold a space, if you like, for people who think that they're the opposite sex. There's 6 years of experience and
I mean, I'm trans and I don't actually think I'm the opposite sex. The problem is so many people say that. There was someone in my comments on a different video being like, well, you're not saying what most trans people is, which is that, you know, I was born a woman in a man's body and I'm fixing my body to be whatever. Oh, Jesus Christ. And that's just like ridiculous. Like, that doesn't exist. That can't exist. You'd need to provide like any evidence of any way that is possible, and no one ever has, you know. Follow the K fair enough.
this. And we've learned that some people.
I was about to say, I got rid of testosterone quite a long time ago. We're talking like 7 years ago. 7 years ago. I don't really want it back, if I'm honest. I'm fine without it.
Take a good 5 years just to get their heads wrapped around it.
I don't really believe someone's born in the wrong body. I think that way of looking at life, you might have something called dysphoria,
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a problem with saying that. I don't think people are born in the wrong body. I don't either, you know?
which really just means discomfort. But
Oh, hey, Paggy.
if you have a dysmorphia, like
And Insane 101, you can ask Shapeshifter and MTFTM post-op detransition who's back on T. Might have to have a look at some point. I mean, because surely your clit wouldn't like grow out the way it does if you take testosterone. Says it's traumatic to have male sex drive back without his private. Yeah, I guess they just kind of clench up all the time for like no reason and stuff. Because like, it doesn't feel entirely different getting hard like when you're post-op. But at the same time, like, I don't have it like constantly getting hard for like no reason. It just kind of happens occasionally for like specific reasons, you know. Your adrenals make a little tea. Well, yeah. Everyone has a bit of testosterone in their bodies for sure.
like that, shouldn't there be therapy to help you out of it, not down that pathway? So I completely reject this notion of true transsexuals, and I think what happens is we end up muddying the waters.
Here's the thing, what even is a true transsexual? Because I'm finding that I don't actually believe in the whole true transsexual thing either, which is weird because I get called a true scum. I call myself a true scum, but I'm not even one really. For no reason. Yeah, exactly. You know, I haven't forgotten my my past experience, you know?
For this nightmare to continue for another 20 years. If we start believing that there are some transsexuals, then maybe the argument goes to fore that there's a group of transsexual children.
And I get it if you're
Nightmare to continue for another 20 years. If we start believing that there are some transsexuals, then maybe the argument goes to fore that there's a group of transsexual children.
I don't think it has to go this way. And I definitely wouldn't advocate for trans children just because I think there's trans adults. Maybe I'd think, fuck, I don't know, it's so complicated. Autogulophilia, oh, that's definitely real, I know about that. I think it's a condition that like 41% of trans, no, I'm so sorry, that was a joke. Please don't report me.
Children.
And I get it if you're going to say, I've talked about it before, the nature versus nurture thing when it comes to gay, like whether or not that's the way that we're born or we actually develop into that. And I'm on the fence with that. So I get what he's saying, but at the same time, neither of us are saying that we're not actually gay or that gay people aren't an actual thing. So just like gay can be
Yeah, there's arguments like that out there, though.
Be an actual thing and nobody else has to understand it, because I know my straight friends, even though they fully accept me and they get me, they don't understand how I could be attracted to men like they're attracted to women, because being attracted to women is just as natural for them as being attracted to men is for
There
me.
you go. Thank you for making the joke for me. Also, I disavow, but also that's funny. I don't care. I don't know if we're going towards people know themselves better than other people know them, or if there's a few transsexuals out there, are they what was I saying? Are they hurting anyone? Do we really have to understand it? That's what I'm trying to say. Alan Joyce says transsexual may have been changed to transgender because of kids. Creepy to say. That's not why I changed from using one to the other. But then a lot of the shit that I was doing when I first came out didn't make much sense. So, and it's odd how gays seem to be more torn on nurture, but everyone else is so sure they're born that way. Well, people say they're born that way because they want to counter the narrative that you just choose to be gay and you just want to fuck other men instead and that you're like disgusting or something. But truthfully, we don't know. With like fucking men, I don't really give a shit. So, like, as long as you're doing so consensually, etc., there's not really a problem. It's very different from like convincing someone else to like transition or something like that, you know, or convince someone to have sex with someone who's transitioned that they're not happy with having sex with, but feel pressured into or something. By choosing to be gay, you can't. I did try choosing to be gay, but it didn't work for me. Yeah, it's just not what I'm into. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess the born this way narrative also makes sense because that's how most people feel. They don't feel like there's any particular reason for their gayness, but the truth is you'd have to like look into so many different people's paths, so many different people's experiences, and fucking I don't know. Do not inhale anything Scooper offers you, by the way. just saying.
Me. So wherever it starts, however it happens, that's where we're at now. And yeah, they can't necessarily understand it, but they respect it. And they're not trying to say it's not a thing. But when you say that about trans, then people could also apply that to gay too and say, oh, okay, well then gay isn't a real thing.
Why? Fucking men as a man is a thing because people do it. Like, transitioning is a thing because people do it, but we need there to be like deeper meaning or something. We need it to actually mean that we're female or male, whatever. Sam's view on preferences being changeable still baffles my mind. Maybe I'd have an easier time if he stopped insisting that a choice and a preference are the same thing. Because to me, my choices are influenced by my preferences. Like, I like pizza and I don't like peas. So I'm probably more likely to eat pizza than peas, like by choice, if you know what I mean. I like his hat, not necessarily the message, but the white and gold is a good combo. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not a Trumper, but hey, you know, people choose to dress how they choose.
Either. And then that was Frederick Schmink that said that. And I was like, this guy must really know his stuff, which if you can't sense the sarcasm, but I was like, this guy must really know his stuff. Let me see what type of doctor he is.
Oh, hey, Shiloh. I'm good. Hopefully you're good too.
Let me see where he went to school. Turns out, Frederick Schmink, which sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Frederick. I know you're going to see this. Small world, you're not a celebrity. But anyway, Frederick has been living and working as a high school English teacher in Paris, France for the last 4 years after an initial move from his hometown of Eugene, Oregon in the United States. He studied history at the University of Oregon and later received...
Listen, if this is what we're doing and saying that should this person be commenting on this shit, I got a third in music technology. It took me an extra year. I'm not qualified for fucking anything, quite frankly. But yeah, I'm here, so hey. I don't know how much I'm gonna sort of look into this argument really, or how much I'm gonna be sympathetic, should I say. Because like, education is not everything. There's some very educated people that say some insane shit.
a master's degree in education from Sorbonne. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, whatever. He has participated in a variety of political organizations over the years and enjoys drawing political cartoons to keep things light. One silver lining is that we're certainly not running out of all sorts of good material anytime soon. So he's an English teacher? That's what you're telling me? You're not even in.
Mate, you're a comedian. You were saying earlier, I'm not a journalist or anything like that. Which is the same for me. I'm not a journalist. I'm not an expert of anything. Like, I'm someone who's been playing guitar for a long time. That's about all I can fucking say, really. Oh, no problem. No problem, Insane. I didn't know if it was a joke, because it's like so many people have covered it. Like, I'm probably one of the Johnny-come-latelys, quite honestly, because I didn't do it yesterday. But hey, whatever.
In the field. So what? Are you just reading a bunch of books in your spare time and this is what you've decided? You've read the Cass report, so now you think you're an expert on all trans people?
Well, everyone says they've read the Cass review, so I don't know.
You can read every book in the world, but if you're not a doctor or at least some sort of mental health professional, it really makes no sense at all. And that's why I say that these groups world. But if now you think you're an expert on all trans people, you can read every book in the world. But if you're not a doctor or at least some sort of mental health professional, it really makes no sense.
I reject the idea that you can't understand trans people unless you're a doctor or educated in mental health, presumably, or a trans person. I would hope that would be the kind of implication there. Oh, hi, Mischief. How you doing? Like, I don't know, it's appeal to authority. It's odd that we do kind of fall back on the TRA tropes a bit, you know what I mean?
At all. And that's why I say that these groups are no better than anybody else. So then there's the other guy, right? That he was talking
I don't see how they're no better so far, especially since they were the ones that had fucking crickets dumped on them.
to Keith Jordan, which Keith Jordan basically does the conversion therapy for trans people. And he says he doesn't do conversion therapy. So I'll just say he does exorcisms on kids that think they're trans.
Fuck knows. I'm sorry, student drinks. I talk in tongues sometimes, so I say doctor things that only doctors can understand. Hang on. What's this guy's name again? I forgot.
Conversion. Jordan basically, there's the other guy, right? That he was talking to, Keith Jordan, which Keith Jordan basically does the conversion therapy for trans people. And he says he doesn't do conversion therapy. So I'll just say he does exorcisms on kids that think they're trans.
That the power of Christ compels you!
Like, where's this information coming from? I don't know about, I don't know much about Keith Jordan. Our Duty. He does conversion therapy, apparently. Also, he had a daughter that was trans and possibly detransitioned. I'm not sure. Fallen into the transgender cult. Listen, I talk like that. Maybe I shouldn't criticize the wording. Obviously, when you talk this way, you've got the risk that you're only ever going to be talking to the crowd. Didn't like what that Keith guy was saying in the video. To be honest, I cannot remember. Hi Pablo, how you doing? Transgender trend. What do these people do then? Do they detransition people? Opposite sex imitations were always inappropriate. Because, I mean, it does sound like kind of trying to force things the other way, you know? Launch of the detransition advocacy network. Where are we now? They have chapters. And they're going out of the they're going after the AAP. Okay, fair enough. Let me just see if there's an about. Mutilating children is not healthcare. I had someone coming along, like defending the use of words like mutilation. I still don't think it's helpful myself. And I mean, they were saying, you know, there's no good outcomes from these surgeries. I mean, for me, this was a good outcome because I'm kind of obsessively feminizing myself. That's my whole thing. And I can wear leggings now. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it as mutilation necessarily. Self-love, not surgery. It did feel a bit conversion therapy-ish. I don't know if I'd say it was quite that far, but he talked about working with kids who thought they were trans and just convincing they're gay instead. The problem is that kind of is how some of it probably would be if we're talking to kids that think they're trans that might not be. And it's going to be kind of hard, if that's how we're putting it, to avoid the implications of conversion therapy. Because conversion therapy should mean something quite specific, I guess. I don't know. Let's do no harm. Advocacy. Do our best to be the voice of parents we represent. I don't really maybe they're kind of careful with how they word things. I'm just not getting a huge amount of information here. About medicine. Adolescence is not an illness, don't treat it like one. I'd imagine some, yeah. It just seems like Keith thought they'd all be gay. I'm sure some kids probably are. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, people are simplifying it by saying, and I mean, it's the LGB alliance. I can see how it's gone that way. They seem to be simplifying it as it's gay kids getting, like, converted, which isn't really true. It's true for some of them, sure. But yeah, I don't know, it's a hard one. There's definitely people who are sort of quite ideologically entrenched in the group of people at LGB Alliance conference, for sure.
Which again, if that's what you're doing and you're having some sort of success with it, great, cool. But he was like, I've been doing this for 6 years. And it's like, 6 whole years you've been doing?
I don't see how he can give his opinion, but they can't just because they aren't doctors or agree with him. End of the day, the concept of true trans is just an opinion. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, I mean, anyone can weigh in on anything. That's the whole point. And that's certainly the whole point of like something like YouTube, which he's himself using to weigh in on stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's not a very good point. I don't know if anyone... I don't know if anyone else said anything about that. I hope that transsexuals are treated differently to trans. I kind of feel that, to be honest. But then I can also see why there's no difference to like GCs and stuff. Like being a gender critical trans is like plenty stressful. You know what I mean? I'm glad I'm not really committed to falling on one side of the fence in a way, because I think I'd have just as much trouble with those kinds of people as I do with like TRAs.
This 6 years is not a long time, but I'm not going to try to take away your credit or what it is you've done. Okay, you've helped a lot of
You already did. He said it was basically conversion therapy.
people in 6 years. Let's say that. But it's still 6 years. So I went to go look into what his credentials were. He's not a doctor or a mental health professional either. He's just a person where his daughter
Well, he runs an advocacy group.
was convinced by the cult, the LGBT cult, that she was trans. And
Does he talk to doctors? That would also be of use, you know, as information.
And she started down that road. So now he's just a parent that tries to save other parents and other families for going through what him and his family have gone through, which again is great. And if it's working for you, I'm happy for you. But at the same time,
What's the issue then? I'm getting confused now. I don't even know what his issue is. Like, I generally liked Ty Rivera, but I'm not getting this one.
you're not a mental health professional. But either way, he's
But does he talk with them? Does he like liaise with them? You know? I fucking don't know. It's a fucking organization, you know what I mean? There's probably people that have expertise that he doesn't have somewhere in there, or they might consult with people, you know what I mean?
doing what he's doing, and I do understand that. But he's another one that goes into there are no transgender adults, which I agree there are no transgender adults. There are transsexual adults, though. Maybe he misspoke, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for right now. Everybody I'm mentioning in this video, I'm kind of giving the benefit of the doubt to. And I know that they think because
Apart from saying that someone just does conversion therapy, I guess.
they're in groups, it's for them to judge me. I'm letting you know that I got my eye on you. Every group I've ever seen develop when it comes to the LGB space or the LGBTQ space or any variation of those letters
2S LGBTQPIA plus
has eventually ended up being corrupted because people realize that it's a money grab and it's also a position of power. And nothing will corrupt people like money and power. So this is why a lot of movements will begin to lose credibility with me, because you have a lot of people running around pretending to be experts on things that they're not experts on. Like I told you at the beginning of this video, I really do lead with life experience and heart. So I am not pretending at all to be a mental health professional. But do I believe that I have met a lot of actual transsexual people in my life? Yes, I do. Do I think
How do we know that someone like that Keith guy, for example, hasn't met a lot of kids that thought they were trans for a while? You know what I mean? The language thing annoys you so much. Which specific language thing? I agree with the rest though. Yeah, it needs standardizing. All that happens when we insist on using the same words in different ways or using completely different words for the same thing, it just divides people even further. And we ultimately have to fucking understand that we have to share this world somehow. And the fact that we're even here at all is crazy and, amazing in its own way. So surely coexistence should be on at least someone's mind, you'd think. Sometimes people mean the same thing when they say transsexual and transgender. True, yeah.
the number of people identifying as transgender are at all representative of the number of actual transsexual people or people that are dealing with gender dysphoria that we have in this world? No, I don't. Not at all. I don't think it's anywhere close to the number of people out here pretending to be trans or calling themselves trans, telling you themselves that they're not dealing with dysphoria. And also when it comes to any kind of conversion therapy, I have already told people, I think the best thing to do is just basically leave your kid alone. If they need to go to counseling and talk to somebody just because they have a lot to sort out and maybe they are dealing with some sort of ideation, I 100% get you having your child talk to somebody. If you have a relationship good enough with your child where you can talk to them and they feel comfortable talking to you about everything, just be a safe space and a sounding board for them. That's what my advice would be. Again, I'm not a mental health professional, but the reason I say for parents to give as little resistance as possible is because I think a lot of times when we're dealing with phases as the kid point of view, because I remember seeing this happening with my siblings, I remember seeing this happen with other
rebellion, I guess. Again, it's fine. I don't care that he's saying this. By his own standard, he probably shouldn't even be saying stuff like this, you know what I mean?
other kids that I knew, and I remember this happening with me. And a lot of you may be able to relate as well. So you're a kid and you're stupid, right? Just like we all were. And maybe you're dating somebody that your parents don't think you should be dating. They think this person's bad for you. And
yeah, he's going to say saying no is going to make him more likely to do it, which, hey, potentially.
So they tell you that they don't want you to see this person and they forbid you to see that person. Well, now it has just gone from possibly being a relationship that you were going to go through and figure out it was just as bad as they were saying, because in the end, a lot of times they were right, even though you didn't want to admit it and it was fun while you were going through it. When all was said and done, they were right. Not my point, but kind of my point. But what happened was because they gave this resistance, and maybe your partner at the time's family gave resistance too, but because their parents were telling them not to do it and your parents were telling you not to do it, suddenly it set up this it's us against the world dynamic. And then all of a sudden,
basically what I said in about 100 more words. But yeah, I agree, basically. Does that mean that as a hard and fast rule you shouldn't say no to your kids? Not really. I don't know. I'm not pretending that I know what it's like being a parent with a trans kid, or a kid who's coming out as trans and is now much more likely to harm themselves and more likely to run away from home and all this other shit. I'm not going to pretend I know what it's like. I try and have empathy without telling people what to do, I guess.
sudden you thought that relationship was more important than it actually was because your parents gave you resistance for it and you felt like you had to assert yourself. You felt like you had to prove that you were your own person, even though you were a kid and you really weren't your own person and you really didn't need to assert yourself. But it's what you did anyway. And so that's what I think happens sometimes with the parents that give too much resistance when it comes to things like trans. Just let them go through their phase. Let them dress how they want to dress. Don't make any medical changes. Don't allow them to do anything that's permanent, and humor them to a certain degree.
The thing is, I mean, if they're going through a phase where they're wearing clothes and shit, you don't have to be like, well, you must be a girl because you're playing with Barbies and you wanted to wear a dress. I think reaffirming those kind of things is probably the biggest problem there, where it's like clothes and toys and shit have genders attached to them, which we really, I don't know, we should be able to move past that kind of concept in this day and age, I guess. I think that's probably far more harmful than how you react to the phase itself, if that makes sense. Like whether you're like hostile to it, whether you're gently encouraging, whether you whatever the fuck else.
People always bring up Angelina Jolie and Shiloh Pitt, who was her daughter that was supposedly a trans kid, but it seemed like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt just basically went along with it and let Shiloh dress the way that she wanted to dress, even though it was in the clothes of the other gender. Let her go through her phase, and now Shiloh's grown up and Shiloh is just a regular girl, actually a really pretty girl, but
keep it in your pants, bro. I mean, yeah, maybe. Bolognese sauce videos. I haven't watched any of those. Bolognese isn't my favorite, personally.
A trans kid, but it seemed like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt just basically went along with it and let Shiloh dress.
Listen, someone should expose me. They could make at least a 2-minute video out of that about my failed music career and my literally nothing else interesting about me.
The way that she wanted to dress, even though it was in the clothes of the other gender.
Yeah, clothes of the other gender, that's what I was thinking. That's kind of stuff that maybe we should be moving past, I think. Like, make it just feel a bit more normal for a boy to play with what the fuck ever, and for girls to wear whatever, and so on. Maybe that would help.
Let her go through her phase, and now Shiloh's grown up and Shiloh is just a regular girl, actually a really pretty girl, but she's just a regular girl. I don't know if she's lesbian or anything like that. I'm not in her business that way, but she's not trans. And so that's why I say that if it's a
Elon Musk left his kid alone and eventually gave in. Now his kid is a trans activist, and not every approach has the same outcome. Yeah, true. I don't know. I never watched like the Elon Musk stuff with his kid because everyone just seems so fucking cringe in that situation. Like, I don't know why people want to air that like family dirty laundry to that extent, but then I don't know, people are really pathological about Elon Musk and that person's his kid, so whatever.
At all possible, it's probably better to just give as little resistance as possible and let your kid grow out of their phase, which I think if
that's the other thing. How many kids does he have? I wasn't aware he had any. I could be wrong.
You don't give that much resistance, they're not going to give that.
We've given one example, and fair enough. I do see the logic, but hey, I don't know. He's talking with the same amount of authority as like the people that he's talking about, like the qualifications of, so
that much fight, because you're just like, yeah, I just need you to wait until you're old enough to actually make these decisions for yourself, and then once I'm out of the picture, you can do whatever you want. But as far as you wanting me to call you Bob, sure, Bob, I'll call you Bob. So what if I named you Melinda? I never liked the name Melinda anyway. Bob is a way better name. Do you mind if I call you Robert? It's a little more formal, but it's what I'm more comfortable with. Anyway, Robert, should we go get you a leather jacket? Which I joke, but at the same time, I really am a firm believer in just letting these kids all the way around grow out of or grow into.
Yeah, I mean, this probably works sometimes, but not always. And I don't know, a different approach is going to be needed for different kids. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's not that I don't get his point, but like, if we're going to talk about these other people's like qualifications and stuff, when we don't have any ourselves, and I have no idea if this person has kids, like, the main thing most people need to stop caring about is gendered mannerisms, behaviors. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think applying like gender to less things is probably a good thing. Like, you know, stop telling your one mate that he's walking kind of gay today, you know, stuff like that. But hey, I don't know, people gonna people.
Whatever it is they are. The instance of people actually being trans, like I said, is very low. And this is going to fall out.
What's actually trans to him? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I have gone through the phase of the whole true trans thing, thinking there's something special about me because I'm just someone with like actual gender dysphoria. But who's to say like where gender dysphoria even comes from? Like, more than likely, I'm just traumatized and it probably just comes from there, but it's a compulsion that I have no matter what I do, so you know, it kind of seemed like the best option for me, I guess. But like, is that true trans? Like, I don't know.
Out of fashion very soon. And I do appreciate the LGB alliance on a certain level because I understand that they're important for balance. Just like there has to be the crazy on the left, there has to be the crazy on the right. But I'm
Well, it doesn't have to be. There just is. I don't know why that has to be.
going to tell you what the real violation is for me. Because as far as I went, the agreement is, and what we're all trying to do is let kids grow and develop the way that they're going to grow and develop. Leave the kids alone. Never mind the conversion therapy that they think is okay, which doesn't fall under leave the kids alone. But I thought,
like, we never really got onto any conversion therapy. You just kind of said it about this guy. I had to look it up and couldn't find a whole lot. Like, I don't know. That is quite TRA. It's like we have to split the difference and do gender critical stuff sometimes and then TRA stuff at other times, when that doesn't really result in a very coherent argument, I guess.
it was leave the kids alone. So then I was on Twitter and I ended up seeing this little post from them. It's LGB Alliance at Alliance LGB, which tells you somebody must take an LGB Alliance before they got it. Neither here nor there, but I hate when that happens. I'm not Ty Rivera on Instagram. I'm official Ty Rivera because some 15-year-old girl at the time, now she's like
someone on YouTube is at the Mary Chew, and it is not me.
20 something, but got Ty Rivera. She beat me to the punch. I hate her to this day. I tried to buy it off her not too long. Let me not get into that. She wouldn't sell. Anyway, so this post says, if you are age 13 to 24 and want to explore your feelings and discuss your experience.
If trauma cause, will a second trauma cause you just want to go back again? Probably not. And I mean, what I think most likely kind of set me off, similar kind of stuff did happen later on in my life. So I don't know, it's very difficult to it's very difficult to try and square. Ultimately I have no idea where gender dysphoria comes from. My personal belief is it's probably a symptom of something more often than it's just a thing that people have, but hey, ultimately I don't know either, so.
In a warm, judgment-free space, get in touch. This is a live chat text service where you'll be connected one-to-one to an experienced lesbian, gay, or bisexual volunteer. The LGBhelpline.org. 13 to 24? 13? We're talking to 13 right now about these matters because I didn't think that was the agreement. And let me tell you,
I mean, having 13 plus call in as to what they're talking about probably depends on what the kid brings up. I mean, is having like a hotline for like teenagers that kind of really that crazy? I don't know. Because these don't... Do they even have, like, age limits on these kind of things? Oh, hi, Hampopper, how you doing? Do they even have, like, age limits on any of these? Because it just looks like the same kind of thing. But for a lesbian teenager... I don't know, I don't really see an issue with this, unless he also has an issue with any other kind of things that also talk to adolescents, you know?
I know that I'm not alone because they are getting eaten up in their comments right now. There are people.
Oh, there's TERFs and stuff. I don't know. This is on Twitter. Like, the most crazy people say this kind of shit. Lol, when you try and help a kid with identity issues, but end up being called a pedo. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with him. Like, mostly no one answers the phone on those lines. Oh, fair enough. I've never used one. I wasn't technically an LGBT kid because I was a straight boy, which I've been told by someone is a pick-me thing to say if you're a transsexual, but I disagree. Siren Luria Laura. Sorry, I probably butchered that, but hi, hope you're doing well.
People literally.
I don't know. I must be missing something here. Like, doesn't it really depend on what they're discussing? Surely.
Really saying the same kinds of things that I was thinking. And I ended up sharing it. I ended up retweeting it and being like, LGB Alliance, I thought we were leaving the kids out of this. And I told them that I'm sure that that post was going to get crickets.
Okay, that's quite funny. But like, well, that's the thing. Like, how are you supposed to help any of these kids if you can't talk to them? I don't know. I really don't see the issue right off the bat. If they're talking about, if it's like a helpline to teach you how to like insert a dildo or like how to do fucking anal, then yeah, they shouldn't be talking to like 13-year-olds about shit like that. But like if a 13 or 14-year-old or whatever, like if they're just looking for advice, like say they get bullied at school or some shit, like I don't know. Is that a problem, really? It really depends on the kind of things that they're saying. If they're also kind of filling everything in with this kind of ideology and trying to tell them to think a certain way, then maybe. But what could you really do but like call them and find out what kind of stuff they talk about, which is presumably led by the caller anyway. I don't know. I ain't seeing a problem, but hey.
You know, even when I'm serious, I'm a troll. I can't help it. How could I not? Because you know they're not going to answer me. But what I'm trying to get at is 13 is way too young to be talking to these kids about sexual orientation or.
Teen hotlines have always been a thing for things like suicide and body issues. Is that any different than gender issues? Well, no, not really, especially when trans people, maybe broader LGBT people, have issues with those things too. Yeah, I just don't see the problem. Like, nah, I'm not sure. Let's just keep going.
Anything with the word sexual in it. Let their parents do that. Let somebody.
It's got the word sexual. Okay, fair. Sure. Okay, whatever.
That their parents trust do that. And I say let somebody that their parents trust talk to them about it only because I know that there are single parents out.
In the UK, we're taught this stuff in primary school. To be fair, I'm too old to know, because I didn't learn any of this stuff in primary school. And I think that kids at a certain age, maybe sometime in secondary school, should know about these things and that they exist and stuff. It was things like the idea of teaching kids about like trans identities, which I dispute it even works that way. I dispute trans identities are even really a thing. Like, that's too far for me. But yeah, like, I just think we're making a problem out of nothing. Like, you see this kind of hypocrisy, or hypocrisy, should we say, and we're just like jumping on it with both feet, it feels. I don't see a problem with this.
Out there that don't feel equipped to talk to their child about it because it'll be like a single dad and he's raising a girl and he's got
kids being bullied to talk to a school counselor, family friend, or an emergency hotline with a professional. They shouldn't be connected with a gay stranger volunteer without credentials. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on who the people are. That's gonna have an effect. But I mean, I don't know. Like, if they go on the internet, aren't they gonna potentially find all kinds of unscrupulous people that will happily give them advice? Like, I'm struggling with that one. I don't know. I can't come to a conclusion on it. It's really annoying. Gay kids are going to be okay. I hope so, yeah. I remember being in assembly in some sexual orientation type group to some kind of performance explaining all the ins outs of straight go. Oof. Fair enough. Oh, hi, Bird Nerd. I'm married to someone who has GD. Trying to understand it for myself, my kids, and for them. Feels like a comorbidity with many impacting factors. Kids do need to talk about it. And frankly, I don't want to talk to most people they know IRL. Yeah, sometimes talking to strangers about stuff is a lot easier. I'd probably get a lot more anxious and nervous doing this a lot more of the time if it was mostly people I know that were like watching me, I think. The thing is, these hotlines have always been full of volunteers. That is the other thing. It's like, are we saying that none of these hotlines should exist? Because, I mean, you call the Samaritans, who are you getting through to? You call almost any of them. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll in the next 2 minutes of this video come up with a conclusion, but I don't think I see the problem, really. And if there is a problem, it's quite a small one, I guess. And it does feel a bit like he kind of jumped on a hypocrisy that he thinks he found, which might be a bit of a hypocrisy. Like, if they're saying leave the kids alone and then they're talking to kids potentially, then yeah, I guess I get it, but I don't know. I think this is mountain out of a molehill, personally.
A sister who's the child's aunt that could possibly talk to them about it and explain it in a way that he can't explain it because he's not a woman. Same with if it's a single mother and she's got a son and she's like, I don't know how to tell him to be a man or how these things work for a man. I only know from a woman's perspective. So that's the only reason I say that there are allowances for another adult that the parent has designated if they need it. But to go on some random helpline and start texting with an adult, which I'm not trying to say the LGB.
Yeah, I mean, that is the other thing that I think is an issue here. Like, you can go on the internet very easily and find someone probably even less trustworthy to tell you all about trans, and depending on who you talk to, you're probably going to get completely different answers, and, you know, God knows what else. So I don't, at the same time, like, fuck, I really don't know. I don't really see a problem with this. I don't know if it's the best way of doing it. I don't know if people use hotlines all that much, but hey.
The alliance's intention is to be inappropriate in any kind of way. But I am saying that things like this leave it open for a or somebody that's got ill intent to come in and possibly be a volunteer, because that's the wording on it. You'll be connected one-to-one to an experienced lesbian, gay, or bisexual volunteer. So it's not even a mental health.
I feel like these sorts of helplines have always existed. Yeah, I mean, same here, yeah. I mean, I'm sure, like, you get teenage hotline stuff. Let me look it up. I'm going to be on a fucking list for doing this, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to find people who will talk to kids about being transgender, no less. Topical. I'm a young person. Hey, I mean, you can already talk to other people. So I mean, it depends. Does he think that all these are bad as well? I guess at least that's consistent in that case. Young people aged 10 to 25. So this is more, if anything. Oh, hi Sky, how you doing? Me and my friends used to prank call these hotlines. Oh my god.
Health professional, a licensed counselor, just a volunteer. So
Licensed counselor. Do you think the average like helpline? Do you think they like were they all staffed by licensed counselors? It sounds a bit fantastical. But hey, I don't know. London switchboard date back to 70s, 80s. Yeah, of course, I can imagine. Reputable hotlines employ mental health professionals and deploy police emergency services when necessary. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be on my mind for a long time because I don't really see a problem. I don't know if there needs to be like standards for these kind of things to operate, or if that's more a wishful thinking thing. I'm not sure.
So for me, that's where things get a little bit dicey. And like I said, under no circumstances should a 13-year-old be talking to anybody about this kind of stuff outside of their family or their parents. I have a friend that moved to England and I've
used it once when I ran away from home when I was 14 and they were really helpful. Okay, fair enough. don't see a problem with this particular hotline. Any hotline could have an ill-intentioned person. Yeah, so I guess the question would become: would he have a problem with any hotline where a younger person can talk to someone, or is it just this one? I don't think he's going to be clear about that. Which, hey, fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. I guess the question becomes whether I think that these things should exist and what hoops they should jump through. If so, yeah, it's a difficult one. But I mean, I maintain like plenty of people aren't even using hotlines. They're going on the internet and talking to God knows who and watching videos made by God knows who. I mean, I've been watching this kind of content a while. There's an awful lot of stuff that children really shouldn't be watching. Not even because it's inappropriate in any particular way, but because it'll be filling their heads with complete crap. So.
Told me that the age of consent in England was 16. I don't know if that's all over England or if that's just where he's at. So if 16 is the age of consent, then I guess that's
Well, yeah, it's all over England. We aren't the fucking US.
for you guys to decide, because I saw people in the comments saying wait until they're at least 16 for them to be able to have these conversations. 13 is way too young. Here in the United States, for the most part, it's 18. There's certain states where it's younger. So I would say that if you're going to be talking to them about that kind of stuff, I would wait until they're 18 and not what's considered to be a kid, because then you look like you're just as bad as the TQ. Anyway,
Now, come on. I think there's a bit of a difference between advocating for children to be able to transition and having a hotline to talk to 13 and up. You know, I think that's another issue. Like, are they no better than the TQ? I don't know about that. Is this necessary? That's the question to me. This is a fair question. I think a lot of these LGBs are hypocrites. They make fun of identitarian, but they want to be special victims. Maybe. Truth be told, I don't really know any of these people well enough to say. I definitely have things like I'm a bit wary of like some of these groups. But at the same time, I don't know. I need to think about this so much more, I think. But yeah, there we go. Ty Rivera. Didn't really agree with him. I like his content in general. He's quite funny, but yeah. LGB is no better than the TQ. I don't know. The criticisms are weak in my opinion. But yeah,